Assalamu alaikum to all. I welcome you all in this video lecture series on integration of princely states, a case study of Jammu and Kashmir state. लास्ट कुछ लेक्चर्स में हमने डिस्कस किया कि जम्मू एंड कश्मीर स्टेट की क्या पोजीशन थी एट द टाइम ऑफ इंडियाज इंडिपेंडेंस. सिमिलरली वी आल्सो डिस्कस्ड अबाउट अदर प्रिंसली स्टेट्स whose future was to be decided by the British government or by the rulers of the time. So similarly जैसे हमने एग्रीमेंट स्टैंड स्टिल एग्रीमेंट की बात की या उसके बाद जो वॉर हो गया अक्टूबर में ट्राइबल इन्वेजन की वजह से जो वॉर हो गया, फिर ये वॉर इंडिया और पाकिस्तान में करीबन 1.5 साल तक चलता रहा 1947 से लेकर एंडिंग 1948 तक. और इस तरह से 1949 में 1 जनवरी 1949 में यूएनओ का रेजोल्यूशन पास हुआ जिसमें सीज़ फायर का ऑर्डर दिया गया. और इस सीज़ फायर की वजह से जो टेरिटरीज़ थी पाकिस्तान के अंडर उस वक्त वो उनको मिल गई और जो बाकी पोर्शन था वो इंडिया के कब्ज़े में आ गया. तो चलिए जानते हैं थोड़ा सा और इस बारे में क्या कंडीशंस हो गई इस वॉर की वजह से, जिसको पहला इंडो पाक वॉर कहा जाता है 1947-1948. सो लेट अस ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट हैपेंड. तो जैसे ही यूएन रेजोल्यूशन पास हुआ सीज़ फायर का, तो करीबन 1/3 टेरिटरी जो जम्मू एंड कश्मीर स्टेट की थी उसमें गिलगित, हुंजा, बल्तिस्तान, रावलकोट, सुधानती, नीलम, भिम्बर या मुजफ्फराबाद, कोटली, मीरपुर, ये सारे पार्ट्स पाकिस्तान के कंट्रोल में चले गए और इस तरह से इसको नाम पड़ गया POJK, पाकिस्तान ऑक्यूपाइड जम्मू एंड कश्मीर. तो इस तरह से पहला जो बाइफर्केशन हो गया, 2 टुकड़े हो गए, पार्टीशन हो गया जम्मू एंड कश्मीर स्टेट का, जहां ब्रिटिशर्स की वजह से पार्टीशन हो गया था. इंडिया और पाकिस्तान बन गए, फिर बाद में बांग्लादेश बन गया. इसी तरह से जम्मू एंड कश्मीर स्टेट जो एक वास्ट टेरिटरी थी, बल्कि हम आज के इंग्लैंड से भी इसको बड़ा कह सकते हैं, उसके भी टुकड़े हो गए. और इस तरह से एक पार्ट चला गया पाकिस्तान के अंडर और दूसरा पार्ट आ गया इंडिया के अंडर. तो ये सिचुएशन तब से कंटिन्यू टेंस है. यहाँ पे आप मैप देख सकते हैं जिसमें आपको पाकिस्तान ऑक्यूपाइड कश्मीर नज़र आएगा लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल के साथ. साथ ही में आपको अक्साई चिन, दैट पार्ट ऑफ जम्मू एंड कश्मीर स्टेट विच इज़ अंडर द कंट्रोल ऑफ चाइना एंड दैट वाज गिवन टू चाइना इन 1962-63, दैट कॉल्ड एज China War. Similarly, one more part that's with India, and you can see here at the bottom one more map can show you a brief history of POK, Pakistan occupied Kashmir. October 1947 the first Kashmir war begins. That's Indo-Pak war, or we can say the first war between India and Pakistan. 1948 January, UN orders ceasefire, leaving part of Jandk on Pakistan side. 1949 Gilgit-Baltistan, administration given to Pakistan by AJAK. Similarly, 1963 Pakistan ceased Trans-Karakoram Tract, a part of POK, to China. February 1994, India adopts resolution in which it says Pakistan must vacate POK. August 2019, India says any talks with Pakistan will now be only on POK. It must be kept in mind that a major decision was taken by Indian government on 5th August 2019 that would be discussed inshallah in the next slide. So formation of Jammu and Kashmir Constituent Assembly. Let's try to understand how Constituent Assembly was formed and what was done by this Constituent Assembly in future course of time. So in October 1950, the General Council of the National Conference passed a resolution recommending election to Constituent Assembly for the purpose of giving the state a constitution that would determine the future of the Jandk state. In May 1951, Karan Singh, in the capacity of the regent, issued a proclamation convoking a Constituent Assembly on the basis of universal adult franchise. Let us try to understand. अक्टूबर 1950 में जो नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस की यहाँ की लीडिंग पॉलिटिकल पार्टी, उसने एक रेजोल्यूशन पास किया जिसमें ये डिसाइड किया गया कि एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूंट असेंबली बनाई जाएगी इलेक्शंस के ज़रिए, जो जिसका काम होगा जम्मू एंड कश्मीर स्टेट के लिए एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन तैयार करना। और इस तरह से मई 1951 में युवराज करण सिंह, द सन एंड सक्सेसर ऑफ महाराजा हरी सिंह, he was a regent at that time, and he issued a proclamation convoking a constituent assembly on the basis of universal adult franchise। तो उसने भी इसको परमिशन दिया कि इलेक्शंस होनी चाहिए, कॉन्स्टिट्यूंट असेंबली बननी चाहिए ताकि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन तैयार किया जाए। कुछ सवाल होंगे, उनका जवाब भी ढूंढेंगे। दिस इज द this is the managing body of national conference who decided about the elections and the constituent assembly. Brief history of Jammu and Kashmir state constitution. युवराज करण सिंह, एनीवेज जो इलेक्शंस थे कॉन्स्टिट्यूंट असेंबली के लिए वो 1951 अक्टूबर 1951 में हो गए, और फिर उस तरह से लगभग 40,000 पीपल का एक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव रहा, और इस तरह से फ्री एंड फेयर जो वोटिंग हो गई, और इस तरह से जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन था वो इस कॉन्स्टिट्यूंट असेंबली बनने के बाद तैयार किया गया। इन सिंपल वर्ड्स, अक्टूबर में इलेक्शंस हो गए, कॉन्स्टिट्यूंट असेंबली बनाई गई, और कॉन्स्टिट्यूंट असेंबली ने एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन तैयार किया, और ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन 26 जनवरी 1957 को लोगों तक पहुंचा। सो द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ जम्मू एंड कश्मीर केम इनटू फोर्स ऑन 26th of January 1957। What was this constitution? According to Indian scholars, it was nothing. It was just an article, one of the articles of Indian Constitution, and this article was called as Article 370. And under this Article 370, the Jammu and Kashmir state was given special position with special powers. For example, it had its own constitution, it had its 7 fundamental rights, it had its own flag, it had its own logos, administrative logos. Similarly, there was a president and the prime minister as well. The president was called as Sadri Riyasat, and the prime minister was called as Wazir Azam. So this special status shows that there were certain conditions according to which Maharaja Hari Singh had signed an instrument of accession. Because if other states also acceded to India, they should have been given special position like Jandk state, but they were not given it. Why Jandk state was given special position? Some international and national scholars argue on this point. So there are other scholars who believe that it was not Indian government who had given some powers to the Jandk state. Basically, it was Jandk state who surrendered some powers to the Indian government. In other words, it is called as coming together federalism, not holding together federalism. So these things will be discussed in the coming lectures. तो यहाँ पे हमने जान लिया कॉन्स्टिट्यूंट असेंबली बन गई, इस तरह से उसके बाद कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन भी बन गया। कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में सेपरेट फीचर्स रखे गए, अपना एक सदर रियासत प्रेसिडेंट था, प्राइम मिनिस्टर था, इसके अपने फंडामेंटल राइट्स थे, अपना एक फ्लैग था, स्टेट लोगो था जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के लिए होता है कंट्री के पास, एक्सेप्ट करेंसी जो इंडियन गवर्नमेंट की थी, जो इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस थे वो इंडियन गवर्नमेंट को डिसाइड करने थे, जो सिक्योरिटी थी, सिक्योरिटी का रीज़न था, सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस थे वो इंडियन गवर्नमेंट के कंट्रोल में थी। रेस्ट जो भी इंटरनल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन होती है दैट वाज गिवन टू द J&K स्टेट। So on August 5, 2019, the Article 370 of Indian Constitution was revoked in the Indian Parliament. So some people also argue on that issue as well. That move has not been accepted by the Pakistan as well. So whatever the conditions were, but it is clear that the J&K state had faced a number of problems since its inception in 1947. So some of the famous scholars have written books on Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir State. One of the important book, that's Justice A.S. Anand. He has written a book called as the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir State, its development and comments. So we have finished this chapter and we have discussed how Jammu and Kashmir State faced a number of problems from 1947 to 1957. Almost for 10 years. During this course of period, there was not only war but the blockade of essential services. That's called economic blockade. Similarly, poverty, unemployment rate, underdevelopment, as well as we can say no progress was seen during this period in the state, as there was turmoil and there were other problems like taxation policy of the Dogras, which continued up for some time, almost up to 1964, because the officials, because the administration that was set up by the Dogras, that continued after 1947 for some period of time, up to 1960s, 1964, 65. And afterwards, after that period, some changes were brought by the administration, or mostly the government that was formed by the people. Anyways, here are some terms we should be kept in mind. Economic blockade is that situation when most of the essential services or supplies are stopped by one country, one region, or any authority. Dilemma is that situation when a person is not able to take the proper decision, especially when a difficult choice between two or more things is given to him. Similarly, Pashtun, these are basically the people inhabiting southern Afghanistan and northwestern part of Pakistan. We have discussed about General Rajendra Singh, his bravery and his what we can say death in the battle. Similarly, there was one more person, Major General Thamia, who is believed to have repulsed the attack of tribalists from Zojila Pass on November or 1st November 1948. It's believed that he repulsed these invaders in Ladakh side, or we can say on Ladakh side, where invaders came and were trying to enter the valley. तो यहाँ तक हमने बहुत सारी चीज़ें जान ली. लीज एक लीगल एग्रीमेंट होता है दैट अलाउज यू टू यूज अ बिल्डिंग और अ लैंड और समथिंग एल्स फॉर अ फिक्स्ड पीरियड ऑफ टाइम ऑन रेंट. Ceasefire is basically an agreement between two countries to stop fighting. Regent is that person who is appointed as administrator in case of we can say in case monarch or king or ruler is minor or is absent or incapacitated. Universal adult franchise, it means right to vote should be given to all adult citizens above the age of 18 or above the age of 18 years. In India, it is above 18 years, 18 and above 18 years, regardless of wealth, income, race, or ethnicity. That means right to vote should be given to all citizens who are adult, mostly 18 or above that, without any economic status, without any social distinction, without caste, color, creed, sex, religion, and all that. Integral part means a something important part that's not separate from one thing. Or we can say, when we take the example of a body over body, it's having so many body parts. So these are not separate from each other. They are called integral. Delimitation is basically the action of fixing the boundaries or limits of something. Obviously the land, obviously the territory, or maybe the country. VP Menon was basically an Indian civil servant who was the constitutional advisor and the political reformers commissioner to the last three viceroys during the British rule in India. As he played an important role during the integration of princely states, that's why he is remembered as an important person. You can see here his photograph. So we have finished this chapter. Inshallah, we'll take the next one within days. You are requested, if you are new, then subscribe this channel for more videos, for more information, and with more questions. Till then, Allah Hafiz.